Alright, so previous video we did the ball joints and they went in okay. The biggest thing was just the upper on the passenger side. The cup wasn't staying straight, but if you have a dead blow hammer, you whack it straight and then you just try to keep it as straight as you can while you're pressing it back down. But anyway, so today we're going to do the control arms. They are billet aluminum and they're black. I think they include stickers and all that stuff, but anyway, there's 4 of them because the front of these Rams from 2003 to 2012, the front is a 4-link, so you have an upper and a lower. And I've had my bolts and nuts soaking for the last few days. I'm going to spray some more stuff on before I head home, try to get some of that penetrate in there so that hopefully I don't destroy the cam bolts. But just in case I do, I have a grinder and a cutter wheel that I'm going to be able to use to cut those bolts out just in case. And the kit actually gives you an option to buy them, and they send them out with the control arms. So I have 2 cam bolts and then I have 1 upper, which on the passenger side of these trucks, if you have a Ram Cummins, the exhaust housing from the turbo back passes right over where that bolt is. And if I can't get the exhaust housing out properly, then I might just end up cutting it off and then taking the bolt out that way. And then we'll see kind of where we go from there. But I'll show you all my setup and then let's get going. All right, so we're at the point where most people really don't know what to do. I did the hardest part first, so I'm going to show you real quick. Sorry, my crazy hair. Beautiful parts. Anyway, wheel well. If you have a 2012 or older, wheel well. Take the exhaust housing off. I was only able to get 2 of the bolts out on the exhaust, and then you can. It gives you enough room to just twist. Now, mind you, I have a 5-inch turbo back, so all I had to do was twist it, and then it came off. So you can get a cutter, but it wasn't really that bad. So got the other side out. Biggest thing is with the lower caster bolt, sometimes you got to cut it out. The other side I had to cut both bits out and then force it out the bottom. On this side I was able to cut halfway through this and then whack it free with the impact, and then I hit it out with a mallet. So the only things left are to put everything back in, and then you put it in upper, lower, and then you tighten it down and then impact it in, make sure that everything sits, and then you torque it to spec. The top one I think is 130 and then the bottom one's 170. And the bottom one I would recommend putting the wheels on, turning them, and then torquing them down, because you're not going to have enough leverage the way it sits with the jack stand on. And I'll show you some of it. This is my setup. This is the driver's side. The passenger side, you have to remove the exhaust, however your exhaust may look, but then when you line it up, you can put a ratchet strap. These 1-inch straps seem to do pretty good. You can get a bigger one, but the other one went straight in with me with this one. So I'm going to throw everything back together and then we'll continue to go out there and test it. This is the passenger side. I turn the wheel to the right for the driver's side and to the left for the passenger side. So that's everything buttoned up. And these wheels, being 295s, they don't utilize the extra space that I have, but eventually I'll go 37s and 13.5s. But yeah, it corrects the minute offset that the suspension used to be. Now it's pretty straight, and then whenever I get the other side, it'll straighten up too. But if you have factory control arms or radius arms, originally it sits a little bit back. So after this we'll test it, see how much those Heim joints to improve everything, and then we'll continue. So one cool thing to note, other than the sick engravings, on the internal side it tells you where they go. So driver upper, and it tells you what side it goes. So frame side. So this one's going to sit like this, the other one sit the opposite way, and then you still have access to the Zerk fittings. They come pre-lubed, and you can tell because there's a little bit coming out. But after that, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing thrown in, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so it's a little windy, and I just thought I'd go over and recap everything that we did over the last couple days. In the first part, you saw that I did the ball joints. I didn't really get to do too of an in-depth tour of what they looked like because it got a little bit late. So I finished them up in time. I just didn't do a proper outro. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I thought that this would be a good way to show you kind of what it looked like under here. It's kind of parked up on a curb. The top one sticks out a lot. The bottom one sticks out a little bit. And you can kind of see, I'll wipe the camera, you can kind of see the clearance. So you can still fit your Zerk fitting in there. I pointed mine to the bump stop of the front part, so that's where the Zerk fitting's facing, and then the top Zerk fitting just sticks up the top. Biggest thing is, whenever you're turning lock to lock, make sure that this part right here clears, because when it goes lock to lock, these two little bits, they get closer. So as you see, there's a little bit of grease. That's okay. They say to pump it until just that, basically that much comes out, and then that's the proper amount of grease that you're supposed to have. My grease gun was acting up, so I might have pumped in just a hair too much, but it flexes over time and it'll equal itself out. The top one does not leak grease anywhere. They don't make a relief, so you pump it till it gets firm, and then you tighten it to 20 foot-pounds. Now the control arms. So the control arms. This is the passenger side. This bolt right here makes it to where you have to remove the little clamp at the back of your turbo and possibly your exhaust bolts. I have 3 of them on here, and I did notice one thing. I'm trying to make this short and sweet. The angle of the engine changes just a hair. Because of that, because you have to move your exhaust around to kind of get this bolt out, it will pivot the hangers just a little bit, so just make sure that you don't mess anything up to be out of clearance, so you don't get any weird rattles when you're going down the road. I fixed mine. Basically, the end of the exhaust started touching the top of the airbag, the little housing, the bracket that it holds onto, so I'm going to have to clearance it a little bit, but other than that, everything else went back together all right. This is just the passenger side. Condensation from my condenser. I need to make a tube so that it doesn't corrode anything. And this is the driver's side. Went in a little bit easier. I did have to grind down a little bit on the top one to get it to slide in smoothly. But overall, everything else came together pretty good. So that basically completes the whole system. And then, like I said, on my next video, I'm going to go over the entire thing and little tips and tricks here and there. But for the most part, the truck's wrapped up. So I'm going to go ahead and just pan to what the suspension looks like now. And then that'll be the end of the video. So please like, share, comment, and subscribe for more. And there is more to come. Don't get me wrong, truck suspension, but the truck is not done changing. Always something else to be desired. And if this is your first time, go back and look at my previous parking lot videos, and you will kind of get an update and a rundown of some of the things I've done. And I'll see you in the next one.